For the last couple of days, what I've tried to do is get in a Jimmy Butler appreciation segment. I've been fired up to do it. I love the guy. I've always loved the guy. And I was all set to do it each of the last 2 days, but then never got to it. Well, let me fix that right now. Not only are we going to open the program with one James Buckets, I am going to officially declare it Jimmy Butler Day here in the jungle. Right? That's not something that he said yesterday, but that is something that he said previously. Alvin, just in case they missed it, this was Jimmy Butler declaring it Jimmy Butler Day back in the day while drinking a glass of wine. Or maybe I should be calling it bleeping playoff Jimmy Butler Day, because playoff Jimmy is absolutely a thing no matter what he says. And not just a thing, but the best thing going in the association, no matter how hard he tries or how much he tries to deny it. I hate to start off bleeping Jimmy Butler Day by calling BS on the man himself, but I have to. Because after he poured in 56 on Monday night in Game 4, he actually tried to sell us on this notion that playoff Jimmy is not a thing, that playoff Jimmy does not actually exist. I mean, dude. The last thing I want to do is get on the wrong side of you. The last thing I want to do is disagree with you. But, dude, it absolutely is a thing. And it's one of the best things. Playoff Jimmy is definitely a thing, and it pretty much is the best thing. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again right now. Regular season Jimmy is a great player. Playoff Jimmy is a superstar. Playoff Jimmy is like a top 10 player all time. Playoff Jimmy is currently leading the playoffs in scoring with over 37 points a pop. Playoff Jimmy just became the first member of the Miami Heat to score 40 in back-to-back playoff games. You heard me correctly. No Miami Heat player had ever done that before. Not LeBron, not D. Wade, not Shaq, not Zoe, not Bosh. None of them had ever pulled that off. But Playoff Buckets just did. And last night, Playoff Buckets somehow followed up that 56-point supernova on Monday with another absolute all-time classic performance. 42 more points last night. Yet another double-digit fourth-quarter comeback. And one of the single greatest game-tying buckets you are ever going to see on the big stage. Playoff Jimmy isn't a thing. The hell it's not. This dude. I've watched that play 40 times, and I still can't understand how it even went down or how he even did that, other than to say it's bleeping playoff Jimmy. I'm not even sure that's giving that guy enough credit. Playoff Jimmy. He may as well just start being known as Hemi Butler, because if anyone anywhere is him, it's buckets in playoff mode. And of course, Hemi Butler was not going to lose that game in OT. He was not going to let them lose that game once he got it to OT. Once that falling one-handed miracle went down, everybody knew it was lights out for the Bucks. Buckets and the rest of the Heat went in for the kill. They saw the blood in the water, and then Hemi was still feeling murderous when he met with the media after the game. Hold up first, Alvy. This also is incredible. You may not think it's as incredible as I do, but this moment here with the media is also Hemi-esque. Incredible. Buckets keeping everybody in the arena on notice, even after the game and the series were already over. Yo, Journo. Don't step to me like that. Step your game up. You're speaking to bleeping playoff Hemi Butler. Don't be crawling up into the den of a lion, all lackadaisical and sloppy and unprepared. You're going to get your head ripped off. Ordinarily, I don't have time for athletes bullying the media for doing their job. Hey, wait, don't we play on Sunday? Look at you. Do your job.
Do your job.
That's incredible. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm a member of the media, and I laughed out loud when I saw that. Loud. Look at you. Do your job is an incredible line.
Do your job.
Because this dude is an absolute legend. And of all the incredible things that playoff Hemi has pulled off so far, that one's got to be the most impressive and shocking one to date, which is why today is, in fact, bleeping Jimmy Butler Day in the jungle. Even if he doesn't want it, and even if he thinks that such a thing does not exist, he earned it. He earned it, and then some. Now that I've been clear about that, look at you. Do your job. There is a flip side to all of this playoff Jimmy, playoff glory. And in this case, the flip side is Bucks misery. Wisco, even though we were kind of going back and forth yesterday about Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get to that later on. Wisco, you know I love you. So you know I'm feeling for you this morning. Because what happened in this series is nothing short of a complete and total disaster. It's a catastrophe. It's a Bucks team that had the best record in the NBA this year. A Bucks team that was the Vegas favorite to lift the Larry O heading into the postseason. A Bucks team that held double-digit fourth-quarter leads in both games 4 and 5, and yet somehow lost both those games. There is no other or better way to put it than to describe this season as a failure, a massive failure, which is why I have no problem with Giannis being asked after the game if this season was a failure. Now, this also, before I play this, is also another polarizing debate. Some people think that this was one of the coolest things ever, what he said. I think he is one of the coolest dudes ever. I do. I think Giannis is one of the best players I've ever seen. I think Giannis is one of the best dudes I've ever seen. I think Giannis is one of the classiest guys I've ever seen. I think Giannis is one of the most well-spoken people I've ever seen. And this response actually is extremely classy. However, I do not agree with it. All right, so again, I stand by what I said. He is about the classiest, most likable superstar I've ever seen. He is. Two things that are wrong about that argument. When he said, ask Michael Jordan, what would he say if you asked him if it was a failure in all those other years where he didn't finish and didn't win a championship? Actually, Giannis, I think Mike would say it's a failure. And number two, when Giannis says, quote, there is no failure in sports, that's actually not right. That's not accurate. You know, as a life response, that was great. As a basketball or sporting response, I hate to say this, Giannis, but it's kind of nonsense. Granted, not as nonsensical as LaFib's answer to the same question last year. But, you know, really, in this case, what Giannis did was just give us a super classy, non-baggy, ultra-likable, super intelligent version of the season was not a failure at all.
I mean, it's not a failure at all.
Listen, if you have the best record in the NBA and you are the betting favorite to win the entire thing, and you have the alleged MVP on your team, and you lose to a shorthanded 8 seed from the play-in tournament in 5 games, that's a failure. I'm not saying that every season that doesn't end in a Larry O is a failure. I'm just saying the seasons where you have Larry O expectations and you're the number 1 seed overall, and then you fall on your face in 5 games in the first round to a team that was in the play-in, and they're banged up and they're an 8, that's a failure. That most definitely is a failure. I mean, my dude, no number 1 seed has lost an opening round series in over a decade. The Bucks are only the 6th team to ever blow it this badly. No play-in team had even won a playoff series yet. So it's outrageous that the Bucks lost, and they lost in 5 games. And lost the way they lost last night with an enormous lead in the 4th quarter, in their own house, in an elimination game. That's a failure. It is. That was literally the biggest 4th quarter comeback in a series-clinching game in NBA playoff history last night. They led by 16 going into the 4th quarter at home with their season on the line, and they somehow lost with their season on the line. And the biggest way you'll be able to tell that that was a failure is from the heads that will roll as a result of that failure, because heads will definitely roll. I'm not calling for it. I'm not wishing for anybody to get fired, but somebody's getting fired over that. So Giannis, I mean, again, as classy a superstar as you will ever meet. I hate to do it. I hate to say it. That was a failure. A major failure. And I hate to do this too, but my man, you weren't even the best player in the series. You're supposed to be the best player in the league. I understand you're a little banged up, but who isn't at this point of the year? Jimmy Butler was the best player in the series, which is why this is bleeping Jimmy Butler Day in the jungle. And maybe the best part of all is what comes next, a.k.a. Knicks, Heat, bleeping playoff Jimmy, taking on tens of thousands of screaming maniacs and lunatics. It's going to be shades of the late 90s all over again. Hopefully just as out of control now as it was then. Can't freaking wait for Sunday. And listen, one more thing about Giannis. Absolutely, he was frustrated. Absolutely. It is never easy to sit up there and answer questions like that. And especially when deep down he's got to know. That he was frustrated. I understand that. But it was a failure. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.